Hi everyone, today we're going to have a look at how to find the rule of a quadratic, looking at things like the shape, the turning point, the intercepts given, and so on. Now, when it comes to choosing the rule for the quadratic, it's best to pick the rule that best suits the information you've been given, okay? So in the case of using intercept form, you want to know at least two of your axis intercepts. And then the coordinate of at least one other point so that you can figure out that dilation factor. If you've been given the turning point and one other point, you should be able to use that form ax minus h squared plus k. And then if you've just been given the coordinates of three random points, you'll just have to use your simultaneous equations. And in that case, hopefully you have your calculator handy. Okay, but let's have a look at some of the examples here. So in the case of this one, you've been told the form to use. But even if you weren't told the form, I would still resort to turning point form. And the reason is because we get h and k right off the bat there. Now, just be careful with your h value when you plug in -2. What's going to happen is the inside of those brackets are going to turn to x plus 2 instead of x minus 2. Still going to be squared, and then we've got plus 3. Your next step is going to be to sub in -3, 1. To get that dilation factor. So we've got 1 is equal to a times -3 plus 2 all squared plus 3. -3 plus 2 would be -1, so squaring that would just give me 1. So I've got 1 is equal to a plus 3, which means that a is equal to -2. So my final equation here would be -2 x plus 2 squared plus 3. So it's been shifted 2 to the left and up 3 after being dilated by that factor there. Now this one here, this should obviously say rule, but this parabola that we're given here, we've got an intercept here and we've got an intercept at 0, 0. So the best form to use is going to be that intercept form of y equals ax minus b x minus f. So in this case, we're going to have y equals a x minus 0 x minus 4, which means that we'll end up with ax x minus 4, okay? Now it's a matter of figuring out that a, so we're going to sub in that point -1, -5. So I've got -5 is equal to a times -1 times -1 minus 4. I'm going to end up with -5 is equal to positive 5a, so a is equal to -1. So the final equation for that one, you don't have to write -1, but just negative x minus 4, okay? Now for example 3 here, we're going to set up our equation and then later on we'll bring up our calculator just to confirm our solutions. But we want to find the values a, b and c. So we're going to have to set up 3 simultaneous equations using that menu 371. But we're just going to have to make sure that we tell it 3 equations with the variables a, b and c. Now to set up those equations, we've actually been given our x and y values for each one. So I've got x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. So when I set this up, that first one's going to be 4 equals, and then everywhere that there's an x, I'm going to chuck in -3. So I've got a times -3 squared, which is 9, and then b times -3 is going to make that a -3b, and then c just stays the same. And you're going to repeat this process for all of these, pardon me, but you'll repeat this for all of these here until you get to a point where you've got your variables you can sub in, remembering to tell your calculator you're going to be solving for a, b and c instead of x and y, okay? Now it doesn't necessarily matter what you tell your calculator to solve for, as long as when you get to your final answer that you end up with an a equals, a b equals, and a c equals. But we're going to plug that into the calculator after. Now for this example here, if I've got the same shape as y equals ax squared, what that's telling me is this parabola also has to have that intercept point of 0, 0, okay? So we're just going to sub in x and y into the equation given here. So I have 5 equals a times 3 squared, which is 9, which means that a is equal to 5 over 9. So we've got a parabola here that's 5 over 9x squared. Now just to finish off that example 3, bring your calculator out and we'll type that one in. Hi again, everyone. Hopefully you've got your calculator ready to go. I'm just going to delete that so we can start from scratch. Now, because we're solving for 3 sets of equations, when we fill this bit in here, we need to make sure we've got 3 and that we do A, B, C just to keep it consistent with what we had written before. Then we need to make sure that we've always got an equal sign in there, but just fill in the values that you found previously, okay? If you can expand your brackets and that sort of thing just to make life a bit easier, feel free. Otherwise, just make sure that you've got the correct notation when you're putting it into the calculator. Now, once we get to this point, clicking enter, we've got fractions. If it asks you for exact values, keep it as exact values. I have just realized that should be a minus 2b though, not a plus 2b. There we go, that's looking better. But if, let's say, that was your answer at the top, keep it in exact values unless indicated otherwise.